Good morning, everyone. Good to see you here again. We're going to have a little bit of a pre-show, so pop into the chat because I'd love to hear what you all have to say. Freezing cold day today. What's the temperature? It's 12 degrees Celsius. It's like the end of the earth here in Australia at the moment. It's that cold. We're just not used to it. Now, what am I drinking with you guys today? I've got the Krombacher, I think. Now, it is only 10 o'clock in the morning. Kerry just had a go at me because I'm drinking with you guys so early. But you know what? We just have to get over it, don't we? Sometimes we have to do the things that we have to do. And Kerry said to me, I said to Kerry that, well, it's late in New York and it's late afternoon in LA, and it's bedtime in Europe. So cheers, guys. I think this is from, where is this from? So it's Germany. So this is a German beer. So cheers anyway. It's a tough life. Let me pull over to the chat. So, g'day, Panda Photographer. How are you? Good to see you in here. Tom is also here. Mike is here. G'day, Mike. How are you going too? Rain here too. Oh, it's raining outside. It's freezing today. We're just not used to this weather. Panda Photographer, I made it to Redding, California. So far, everyone, but no camera as of right now. Yeah, I heard that you said it died, which is no good. Hi, Ario. You're laid up as well today. Redaz is also saying cheers. So we're going to give this a couple of minutes, guys, before we start. And then we'll get stuck into it all. Got a few things I want to talk to you about as well, which should be really interesting. I've got a bit of new gear that I'll mention also, that I also talked about that when I was on that One Camera Guys podcast early in the week. So we'll talk about that as well together. Another thing that I've actually just ordered, so I'll talk to you about that as well, because I wanted to know if anyone has it and, you know, what they think about it, because I've just ordered that too. David Johnson's here. It's actually 8 p.m. in Boston. Well, that's why I'm saying, David, it's the perfect time to crack a stubby with me. So you need to be doing that now. So I hope you're going to. Rita's saying cheers. Terry J is saying hi. David Johnson saying hi. Francisco B is also saying hi, guys. Hi, David. How are you, Francisco? M. Spate said, hello, David. This is Marvin and Sony in sunny Florida. It's so hot here. We have the air conditioner on and trying to stay cool. It's almost 8 p.m. What time is it there? It's 10 o'clock in the morning, Marvin. Iron to Brown, summertime in the USA. Yeah, no, we're the opposite to you guys now. So we have cooled down now. So like I said, I think it's only going to be a top of 12C today. So it's a little bit cold. It's nice to be inside though. I don't mind the change of seasons. D said 7 p.m. in Texas. Torben says, damn it, now I have to stay awake a bit longer. I love it. David Johnson said, good to see you, soul brother number one. That's he's talking to Tony. Francisco, 2 a.m. in Italy. You guys are unreal, honestly. But thanks for joining us, guys. I really do appreciate you joining us on here for our little weekly chat. And Jose said, hello from Belize. It's 6 p.m. and it's hot. I'm jealous of you guys. But I've been all through that while you were freezing. So, oh well. Anyway, the beer will warm me up. Lovely. Now, what I wanted to talk to you first about is about some hardware, because I thought I'd talk to you about a couple of things that I've got in the coming, well, a week or so ago. I actually got a, I'm just going to take that pre-show off. I've actually just bought this, which is the lavalier microphone. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second. I've found, to be totally honest, that these Rode lavaliers are by far the best ones that you can get for the quality, but they're not cheap. I think it was $199 Australian, and it's probably a bit less in the US. It might be, I'm not sure, but these are by far, I think, the best sounding microphones. I did buy a cheaper version, and I'll show you that in a minute for a backup. And I've also bought this too. I'll show you what I used. I also bought this too that I'll discuss with you in a minute. I've mentioned this before with you guys too, so I thought we'd talk about that. Is that going to focus? Yep, there. But these Rode mics, I think sometimes you only get what you pay for, particularly with lavaliers. Now, I've found sometimes the cheaper ones do sound reasonable, and I've got a couple of those, but these more expensive Rode ones, and they're a good Aussie company, so I should promote them really. These are really good quality, like really good quality, and I found they by far sound the best. And that's a little sock that you get with it as well. I've found that these by far are the best sounding ones that I've used. Others may disagree in the chat, and I'd love to know what you guys think as well. And Panda Photographer said he uses one for his iPhone, and I had that as well, but now with the new iPhone that you can't connect them as easy. But I've found by far these are the best lavalier microphones. So if you are thinking about getting into videography and recording yourself or recording a groom or something like that, or a celebrant or a priest, these are really good. But like I said, they are dearer. So I've also got as a backup, I'm going to try these and let me know if anyone has used these ones. These are Audio Technica ones. Now these take batteries, I notice. On them, which is a bit of a bummer. So I've ordered a couple of extra batteries as well, but just let me know if anyone's used these and how you've found them, because I would be really curious to know what you actually think of them. And I did discuss this a couple of weeks ago, but I thought I'd just mention I used this in a wedding on the weekend. This is the Zoom H-F1. These come with the microphone too, and actually the microphone's pretty good. It's not as good as the Rode microphone, but it actually is pretty good, and I'm actually quite happy with it. But I love this unit. It's got this lovely belt clip on the back, so you can just clip it onto a belt or pants, something like that. The software is really nice. It locks really easily, and the good part is, unlike I haven't got it in here, but unlike the other Zoom that I had, I think it was the H1. The problem with that is the microphone comes out the side, and that causes real issues with, you can actually sort of break it, and it also can be sort of disconnected, whereas this has the screw-in attachment up the top, and it also comes out straight, so it's much easier to use in a wedding type scenario and stuff, and I've really been like using this. The other thing that I've just purchased, and I haven't got it, and I got a really good deal from B&H. I just ordered this wireless shutter, and I wanted to talk to you guys about this, whether any of you have actually got this or not. It's the Velo Wireless Shutter Boss 3. It's a remote switch for digital timer for select Sony cameras. And I got it yesterday for $50, so it was actually, 50% off. I don't know why, I just got an email saying it was 50% off. One of the problems with the latest Sony cameras is they don't have the time-lapse app built into them. So it becomes a bit of an issue. So I was really happy when I saw that this was on special yesterday, and I thought, well, I'll just buy it and see how it is. And I'd love to know in the chat whether anyone has actually got this or not. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to using it, because I do love doing time exposures, but I just don't do them enough, and I really want to really concentrate on doing some more. So anyway, I've just bought this one. They are $99.50 at the moment. I bought it from B&H yesterday. Like I said, they had a special yesterday. I probably should have put a comment about it actually, but I was out all day testing that Tamron, which I'll talk about soon. But I got this yesterday. Now the thing is too, I can actually do time-lapse with the A7 II, and that's one reason why I probably will keep that, because that's all built in and I don't have to carry around any other gear. So that is a real advantage with that camera, and I really wish that Sony would give us some way of doing that internally in their latest cameras. Really, for the money you pay, not having an internal time-lapse, I think Sony's being a bit silly. They really should give us that feature in software somewhere, in a firmware upgrade or something. But so it looks like I've had to buy this updated one anyway, in case if I want to use my A7 III, or if the A7S III comes out. The A9, for instance, doesn't have the time-lapse built in. So if I want to use any of those cameras, I need to have a bit of gear that I can actually use that. So let us know in the chat later on. I'd love to know whether any of you guys have used that device, because I'd just be curious to know, what you think about it. Is it worth that $99.50? Like I said, I got it yesterday for $50, so that was really quite cheap, I thought. You really can't go wrong paying that sort of money. But yeah, I'd love to know. It seems to get, I thought it got, it's getting pretty good reviews. It's all sort of rating at 3. reviews. There hasn't been a stack of them yet. It comes also with if you are going to buy it, just make sure that you do get the Sony version if you're dealing with Sony cameras, because you need that special lead. And you'll see up the top it actually says for select Sony cameras. So anyway, looking forward. I'll let you know how it goes when I get it. So I'm getting that in a few days' time. I think it said 4 to 6 days shipping. Cheers, everyone. Just going to have another drink. Got to warm up. So let's just go quickly back to the chat before we switch on to the actual live show. I'm just curious to see what people are saying. Some people are talking about the temperature because it's freezing here and you're making me jealous because it's all warm over there. Carlos said, I'm definitely having a Stella when I get home, just left work. Yep, cheers, have one on me, Carlos. My road level ears are the best for anything iPhone using other devices. I know they are so great. Francisco said, I am awake all nights to watch David's live videos. His fault if I will be fired. So sorry, Francisco, but I'm so happy you're joining us live. I mean, it is better if you can join us live because you can join these conversations. I mean, people obviously leave all their questions down below, but it's still not the same as when you're chatting with us live. So Sweet is saying hello. What else have we got? Richard said hi, so Richard's just joining in. And most people are just saying, talking about being on the road. All right, well, let's get started anyway. I'm just going to put I forgot to put the timer on. How long have we been on for? What's it saying? It's, I'm just trying to see how long we've been. Does it say? I'll just put the timer on now. I'm just going to have to do it. I'm trying to put the actual list of what's on. People complain how long these shows are. And so I'm trying to put a timeline down, but I always forget to press the start of the recording. So, I can't do it. Mike said, I've got the Mickey battery grip for the A7 III, which includes remote with time-lapse feature. Now, how do you find that, Mike? Did it work well? It seems like it does from what I've heard. So, yeah, that's not a bad price for that either. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start going through some stories. So let me put down here. I won't have to time it. I'll just have to come back later on because it's not going to work now that I've missed the start of the actual thing. Oreo said Sony is cheap on internal RAM, and this is strange considering that they are not holding back on other features. No internal time lapse and only 2 internal memory position. I know. I just wish they'd give us that feature. It's because of that stupid time, the apps that they've taken out now, Oreo, that has caused issues. It's a bit of a pain, but what can we do? Panda Photographer said, hi David, that Audio Technica, it's good, but it's not that good. Okay, yeah, well I'll test it anyway and see how it is, Panda. Mike said the Mickey works great too. Well, that's fantastic, Mike. I'm glad it's working for you. All right, so let's start over.
Congratulations on the 10,000.
Kerry is popping in. Oh, she's having
No, I'm not having it. It's too early for me.
Hang on, I'll switch over here. You can say hi to Kerry. She's saying congratulations for the 10,000.
Congratulations. He's been hanging out to reach the 10,000. But I'll cheers.
Oh, cheers.
But I'm not actually having. I'm going out for lunch.
Cheers, big ears.
Have fun.
Oh, I love it. That's funny. Oh, so I'm not sure if you know, I actually got over to 10,000 subscribers this morning. I hadn't mentioned it. I'm going to do a separate video of it after we finish here today, just to say thank you to everyone. So I haven't made a big deal about it. I didn't know Kerry was coming in, actually. So I'm going to actually do, which was really cute, but I'm going to do a separate video on that, thanking everyone. So yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm really honoured, and I will talk about that in the other video. So I'm not going to mention it much at all in this one, because I want to say thank you personally, everyone. So let's go over anyway to some stories. Now, don't forget, guys, before we do start that, leave in the question box the live chat now. If you say at David Oastler, I'll make sure that I don't miss it. So it's far easier for me to check the your questions, because I will have question time at the end. So I'd love to have a chat with you later on. But no apps is... Mike has said, but no apps is just unacceptable. I really miss smooth reflection apps. And you know what? They're fantastic, those apps. And I use all of those apps all the time, Mike, and I agree with you. I really wish that they'd bring that back. It was a great feature. I think people just didn't want to rewrite them for the latest cameras, but it's a shame because that smooth reflection apps works great. Also, I use that, I can't remember the name of it, I use it all the time though, is the sort of ND filter built in where you can expose for the sky and the landscape as separate images. It's just such good stuff on there, and the inbuilt time lapse. So I'm really upset that they've taken that out. All right, anyway, let's go to stories again. And like I said, I will talk about my 10,000 subscribers now coming up, guys, because I'm going to do that in a separate video. All right, so let's go back to this. So that was the first story we looked at, was the thing that I've just ordered, and I'll let you know how that goes when I get it. But I wanted to talk about this. Woohoo! Cheers, everyone. I got onto Sony Alpha Rumours. It's the top of the page. I was wrapped. Wrapped, basically, in Australian means happy. So I was so happy that I got on there. It's number 1 on there, and it's done so well. And I'll take you through this and explain. I'll talk about a little bit about it now because I really want to discuss this lens with you. So cheers. You can see down here, this is the actual couple of things I posted yesterday. I posted one where I actually went out into a park and used the lens, and I'll talk about that with you in a minute. And this was in the shop later on. I wanted to actually go into the shop and really help the shop who was giving like a promotion of it. I wasn't paid to go in. I just did it because I think it's just nice to do that. So I just went into the shop with Kiara, actually. She spent the day with me yesterday. We did a shoot as well. But I just wanted to go in and sort of show it sort of live in that context as well. So I did a couple of shoots yesterday. The one in the shop yesterday had the A7S2, I think it was on there. The one that I used up the top, I actually used it on the A7 III. And I'll just sort of skip a little bit up here where it's just talking about the actual lens, because I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the only thing was, like I said, unfortunately it was really glary. I probably should have pointed the screen down a little bit, but you still can check when you look at the video. You can still see the green box around Kiara's head. And to be honest, I was really impressed with how this focused. They didn't pay me. Basically, I just contacted them and said, can I look at this lens and stuff like that? And anyway, Tamron, they got back to me and said, yes, they'd love me to do a review of it. And so I took it down to a local park. The only thing was, like I said, I couldn't use a card into the camera, so I can't take images yet, but I will be able to in 2 weeks when it's released. They're going to give me a lens to actually use to test it. I won't be keeping it. It's only a test lens, but I will be then able to shoot some images for you and test it fully out for you in that regard. But the thing I could test yesterday was the autofocus speed, and the color, particularly on the back of the screen, was just the same as using my Sony 35 1.4 and the Batis, because I used both of those just before. The color rendering on the back of the screen looked beautiful, so I can say, looking at that aspect of it, the color did look really good. But my main thing about the whole test yesterday was to check how the face detection and the eye detection worked. And I can honestly say that my review yesterday, looking at this very closely, it was easily as good as any Sony lens that I've got in performance in tracking the face and using eye detect. It was extremely fast. I didn't really notice any lag at all. No lag at all. And I also checked it in video, and it also was really good in that respect as well. I just didn't keep filming it, but the video was great as well. And I was really happy with the overall performance of how the lens actually went. Like I said, the color on the back of the screen was just beautiful, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. It looked like exactly like I was using my other Sony lenses. So really, I think Tamron really have hit this out of the park in releasing this lens for the price that it is. Will I be buying it? I'm still not sure yet, but it could be, because remember, I do love shooting primes so much. But I probably may buy it and use it for the video side of it, because this probably would be a really good lens on a gimbal. It's so light. You don't realize how light this is. I think it's 150 grams. It really is light in your hand, and I think most gimbals would probably take it. I think my Moza Air Cross would be able to take that lens on the camera, And then obviously, I could use it on a gimbal with the autofocus, and it seems to be working fantastic. And now I could be running at 2.8 in the aperture. So that is a really good feature with that lens. It really does feel lovely and light. I was surprised when I held it how small it actually is and how light it actually is. And the quality did still feel great though. So I was really happy with how it actually performed. And I was actually surprised at how well it performed. And I'm talking to you here from an area that someone that's not sponsored by that company at all. I got nothing for doing this. All I got was early access to getting a look at the lens. So I'm just telling you the truth, and you could see on the back of the camera anyway how well it was actually performing. So I really think if you are looking at getting a sort of lens around that focal range, you're probably not going to be able to go wrong with getting the Tamron. Now, I'd probably almost say, looking at them, I've used the G Master before as well, and that lens, I probably would get this lens before I got the G Master. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you are losing a little bit on the 24mm end, yes, but you're gaining on the longer end, which not many people are talking about. I probably would get this lens and then buy a wider prime. And the money you're saving, you can easily buy a second lens. And that's the thing that I'm saying to you. If you are really looking at expanding your photography, I think you're probably better off buying the Tamron and then using that money you're saving to buy a second lens, a really good prime lens, or putting it towards another lens that you really want. So that's my thinking on this now, especially after I've used it now, and I can sort of say how it feels in the hand, how the autofocusing performs, how light it is, and things like that. And the quality just seems to be really good. And I really, as you know, anyone that's followed me, I haven't been tempted to get the 70-200 G Master. I use the 70-200 f4. I've also got the 2470 f4. But looking at that now, there's no way I'd recommend getting the 2470 f4. I'd definitely be buying the Tamron. And to be totally honest, I would personally prefer the Tamron than the 2470 G Master due to the weight. And the quality for me, honestly, I think looking at it would be good enough. And even if you look at the reviews, the quality of that aspect is good enough. If you're a pixel peeper, you may not agree with that. But for me, my clients, and everyone else, I can honestly say that that lens would be good enough. And that's one reason why I may get it down the line. I'm still sort of waiting to see what Sony do with the A7S series, and we'll talk about that a little soon. But I'm sort of holding off on a lot of purchases to see what's sort of announced. But it's really tempting to get that Tamron lens, and I really am interested in looking at it. But anyway, it is now, both of those are on the Sony Alpha Rumours, so you can look at that now if you want to. Like I said, I was pretty honoured that they put that as a lead story, and it's done it particularly well. And I meant everything I said yesterday. And I would tell the truth, guys, to you. If that didn't work, I would have told the truth. There was no real noise in the focusing that I could hear, but it was windy. And if you listen to the video, you can hear the wind. It was pretty windy on the day, but I couldn't hear any noise through the focusing. So I think it is going to be pretty good in that respect of not having noise. They are actually advertising it as being a silent video focusing lens. So it may be a bit of a game changer. It might be something that, that Sony are now going to have to think about their pricing. And remember, this is just a win-win from this aspect, that we cannot lose out when other companies are doing this type of thing. And I do believe now that probably Tamron will release a 70-200 or something around that range as well. And if it has the same type of quality as this, you're looking at what fantastic time to be shooting Sony, guys. I mean, it really is a fantastic time to be shooting Sony now. No longer can people really talk about the lenses. If you're a normal shooter, if you're if you're into shooting birds flying off or whatever, or animal safari photography, yes, you might want longer lenses. Or if you're into sports, and that will be addressed over time. But for a normal photographer like myself that shoots events, portraits, all of this sort of stuff, there's way more lenses now than what you will ever need, and I really don't think that's any issue now at all. But if you are thinking about pre-ordering, I seriously would get into it, because as the second story, just to look at this, I just wanted to bring this up to your attention, that Tamron have issued an apology because it won't be able to fulfill the 28 to 75 pre-orders right from the shipment at start. Now, I did, like I said yesterday, I did talk to, I'll just read down here. It just says, Tamron Japan just confirmed pre-orders were much higher than they had expected, which means that not all of you will get the lens as soon as the lens starts shipping on May the 25th. So that was confirmed yesterday because I asked, and I'm not going to say who the person is, but I asked the lady, she's a lovely lady, I asked the lady who I worked with yesterday with Tamron, how the pre-orders had gone, and she actually said they'd gone through the roof. So clearly, if you haven't already got your pre-order in, I would suggest you get your pre-order in as soon as possible, or you're going to be on a bit of a waiting list to get it. I mean, you still will be on a waiting list now, but if you are thinking about getting it, it might be a time to jump in. I can't believe that they've put that lens in at the price that they've actually put it in, and that's the thing I think that might be the bit of the game changer here, and it may bring other prices down, because clearly you'd have to justify going up to a G Master lens. You really would have to justify paying that much extra to get a G Master lens, and it's going to be interesting. Now, again, I will look at this properly when I review it fully and I can start taking pictures. I have organised with the company to get a lens in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, I think, when it's announced. Then I can start taking photos, and I'll probably take Kiara out or something, and we'll go and do a shoot with it, and you'll be able to see the results for yourself. But remember, I never look at it from the pixel peeping side of it, and this is why I said to you, I think from what I've seen already, that this lens is going to be easily good enough for my usage. If you are a pixel peeper, a hobbyist, and that's all you like doing is looking at pixel 1-to-1, well, then you might say you might want to go to the G Master. But for 90% of the population out there that are just like me, doing it for work and everything else, the Tamron is easily going to be good enough for what you want to use it for. And you're dealing with $8.99 or whatever it is, $7.99 US. So, you think about how much you're saving, and then you can put that saving to buy another lens. So rather than buying a 24-70 and blowing you $2,000 US, you can pay $7.99, and then you can immediately go out and buy a beautiful prime, a 12mm or something like that, and basically for the same money. So it's something that you can consider to get. And I think that the 28 to 75 is not an issue. I know you're losing that 24, but I really don't think it's an issue. But you will have an issue if you don't put your pre-orders in fairly quickly. So you are going to have to think about that, or you're going to be waiting for quite some time, I think, in these shops before it's put in, just the way it's going to be. And that was confirmed to me yesterday. All right, so let's go to the next story. And I am going to come back to questions, guys, because I will allow some questions at the end. We'll have plenty of time for that. I noticed yesterday that they're now saying that the 24-105mm will ship within 3 to 5 weeks at Amazon. I'm not sure how long they're saying B&H is saying that it's going to take to ship these lenses, but clearly they've been really hard to get. I have had a number of people asking me whether they should keep the 24-105 that they've pre-ordered or get the Tamron, and it really is a hard decision. There's 2 ways of looking at this. If you say shooting outdoors and you want to do things like sports or whatever, you may go for the 24 to 105 because basically you might need the reach. So that's one thing that you might want to consider. But remember, it is an f4 lens. Now, running at f4 for me, honestly, has not really been a problem. And I've shot the 70 to 200 f4 all the time and had no issues with it. But the area it does struggle is if you take it inside and it starts to be dark. That's where I'll bring out my primes, and I wouldn't be using the f4. Whereas the Tamron, you would be able to use indoors. And it could be a great lens for, say, wedding photographers, for instance. And remember, the 2 staple lenses for wedding photographers are the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200 f2.8. I don't work that way, but that's the main photographer's lenses that you see out there. So if you are a wedding photographer or you wanted to get into wedding photography, I'd probably recommend that you get the Tamron over the 24 to 105 because you do have that 2.8 if you need it. And that's one plus. And like I said, the money you're saving, you have got enough money to buy another lens. Someone's just put in the comments that the 7200 f4 is $899. Yeah, it's too expensive, way too expensive now, that lens. I wouldn't be buying it. They're going to have to justify that cost on that lens, I think. So anyway, it is going to be available, they're saying, at Amazon in 3 weeks' time, if you're still waiting on it. But that doesn't mean it's available in the stores or if available in B&H, I'm not sure. But at least it is available. But again, that is a great lens. That would be a great travel lens, for instance, if you wanted to go and travel and have a lens that gives you reasonable reach. That 24 to 105 would be a great lens for that. And I've heard nothing but good reports about that lens. I still haven't used that lens yet, so I can't comment about how well this works, but I've heard nothing but good reports about it. But I think at the moment, if I was choosing between one of those two lenses, I'd probably get the Tamron, but that's me personally. Because I've got the 70-200 that I'd use anyway. So if I was in the market now to buy the lens, I'd probably get the Tamron over that. You are saving a little bit of money, which again you could put towards something else, and you're getting a 2.8 lens that is extremely light, and I could use that on a gimbal and use it for other things. So, that's talking about that anyway. So hopefully there is light on the end of the tunnel if you are waiting on getting that next lens. The next story that I wanted to talk to you about is the big Kandos still on, and the disappointing thing is Sony still haven't announced anything, and I'm not sure whether they're going to at this stage. All they really seem to be showing is this 400mm 2.8 that we've known about for ages. So it's a little bit disappointing that they're not showing anything, but there's still a chance because they're saying that there is still a big press event at the Kando event still going to happen. But Sony Alpha Rumours are saying that they haven't heard of anything that's actually going to be released. So whether they, just pull something out of their hat and that we don't know about, I'm not sure. But at this stage, all that Sony Alpha Rumours are saying in their rumours that we know about is that we know from a trusted source that the 24 GM is going to be announced this year. Also an SR5, we know from highly trusted sources a new high-end APS-C camera. So that's clearly going to be an A6700 or something like that. Cheers, everyone. So that's clearly going to be the A6500 replacement, I would say. We still don't know what that is. And SR5 is that the A7S III is going to be announced with 4K 60p. Well, we know that's true because Sony also announced that to Dave Dugdale. So they did actually say with Dave Dugdale that the Sony A7S III would have the same colour science as the FS3. So it's just a matter of time before that camera is released. And this is the thing for me, that I'm still waiting on that, and I'm not sure which way I'll go yet. If the A6500 or A6700 or whatever it is gives me what I need, I may have no need to go for the A7S III. It just depends what they offer us with that A7S III. If the A6500 replacement has an articulating screen, if it gives me 4K 60p, even if it was for a few minutes, I would be happy enough probably to be just running that camera. Remember, I'm so happy now with the video that I'm getting from these balloons. Kerry put them on. The A7S III and the A9, the video on these cameras is outstanding. The low light video on these cameras is amazing. And I've got an A7S that I probably will get rid of. But basically, the video on those cameras is just unbelievable now. And I can quite easily go up to 6400 ISO without any issues, and the results still look really good. Now, if you're dealing with that, I'm just wondering what they can add in the A7S III to make us want to jump over. Now, 4K 60p, yes, is definitely it. They may even surprise us and give us 120p. You never know, it might give us 4K 120p. We've just got to wait and see. They may give us something like an internal ND on that camera. So let's wait and see what they have and give us on that. But so at the moment, I'm just sort of deciding which way to go. Like if they offer me enough with an A6 7000 or whatever it's going to be, I might just get that and not go up to the A7S3 now because I'm so happy with the A9 and the A7 III. Like I said, the video on those cameras is outstanding, and it's certainly good enough for what I need. And I feel confident that I can shoot in almost any scenario now with that camera. So if they don't offer me enough, like if they don't give me 4K 60p with the A7000, I probably will then immediately get the A7S III when it's announced. So, but I'll talk about that more when there's announcements down that avenue. And it will be interesting though to see which one they announce first, whether they announce the A7000 first, or whether they announce the A7S III. So it really is going to be interesting times for us to see which way they go in the future with those two cameras. And I must admit, I really love the articulating screen. That's why, to be honest, I've just been adored using this. The small HD I've been using all the time now. When you've been watching the videos and Kiara's being stupid walking up to the camera and doing all these things, that's because I face the video that way and she can see herself in the camera. And really, it is amazing when you start to use these little monitors, how good they actually are. And I'll probably look at the new Atmos V5 or whatever it is, that one that's coming out, I think, next month. I may look at that too. But so far, I've been so happy with using this. I can also use it obviously facing me, but I love it when I'm facing it the opposite way. So I'll just stick it onto the camera like that. And then basically, at least I can do vlogging or whatever I'm going to do. And the video you looked at me yesterday, where I was showing the camera, the lens and everything being used, the Tamron, I had this facing me so at least I can see myself in it. Because that's the one downside with the Sony cameras is you can't see yourself, so it's hard to do that vlogging. You've just got to trust that the camera can see you and it's wide enough. And then, oh, thank you so much, Michael. He's giving me that for the 10K subs. Thank you so much, mate. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video, Michael, but thank you so much. So this works great, though. And you have got the dummy battery that you can put into the Sony camera as well and power it, but it doesn't work with the A7 III or the A9. It will only work with the A7R2 and down, or the A6500 that I'm using here at the moment. But at least using this, it's nice and light. This is very light, and at least you can see yourself. So I really am hoping that they give us this type of feature with a fold-out screen in their next camera. Now, I don't think that we're going to see that in the A7S III. I just don't think we're going to get that in that. I think that will be what they give us in an A7000 replacement. And the reason why I'm thinking that is they have to give you something really good in that A7000, the A7000 I mean, to make you not move up to the A7 III. So there's really got to be something in that to make you buy the new A7000, whatever it is. And I think that might be where they hit us with something like an articulating screen. But let's wait and see. But we'll soon find out, and it might be that I end up having to get that and the A7S3. Yeah, I might end up having to buy both. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So another thing coming into this, SR5s, they're also saying 200 to 600 millimeter FE is on the roadmap, and like I'm saying, they're dealing with that to help people that are into high-end sports and also wildlife shooting. So that will be where that is. The 400 to 200 GM price to be unveiled within 1 to 2 months. So that's going to be very, very soon. And also one that does interest me particularly is the 135 FE GM is coming as well. But like I said, I'm also tempted to have a look at the Sigma when it's released. And I really am seriously contemplating getting my first non-native lens. Well, apart from the Batis, I had no choice when I bought the Batis though. When I bought the Batis, that was the only lens that you could buy that was Sony was 85mm. There was no other lens available at that time, and that's why I didn't buy Sony. If I was purchasing now, I would just get the Sony 85 1.8. That's what I'll be buying now. But there's a few other things as well that you can consider now. Sigma, I think, will be amazing. The 85 Sigma that I did used to have when I shot Nikon was amazing. So that could be a beautiful lens as well. I think that's the 1.4. Also, you've got the 135 Sigma that I'd love to have a look at, and the 105 Sigma I'd also like to have a look at. So hopefully I can find someone local that I can get a lens of those lenses and just test them out and do some reviews for you guys. So I'll have to see if I can contact some people. There is some advantages as my subscribers are growing that you do have a bit more clout when you're asking people to lend you gear. So hopefully as I keep growing, I'm going to get more of like what's just happened with Tamron. So, I may be able to get some of those lenses to test for you to just see how well they work. So I'm excited about giving those a go. I'm excited about trying the 135mm that will be announced soon. But basically we don't know yet. It's only an SR3 when they're talking about that. Talking about that 135mm here, it's still only an SR3 and it's just saying coming soon. So we don't know when that's going to come. We also don't know how expensive it's going to be. I might be completely happy with what Sigma have to offer in that regard. So, like I said, I'm still going to wait for testing just to see what happens in that sort of area. So there's a few more interesting things there anyway. Let's go to the next story. And I'll put all these links down for you below, guys, so you can actually check. This is another lens that I'd love to test. I use a small 35mm. I'll show you which one I actually use. Just let me open up another window. I've just got to try and remember. I think it's the Sony 35mm macro. Oh, it's a 30mm macro, actually. So this is the one that I actually use. I'll just reduce this down in size so you can see the... Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, it's there. It's cheap. I mean, it's actually $278. Now, the thing is, too, it is an APS-C lens. So I'm using this often on my A6500, or I'll just use it in crop mode on my A7R2. And remember, you're getting 18 megapixels roughly, and that's ample. I'm only dealing here with ring shots and things like that. Detail shots. They're never ever going to blow those up to be massive poster sizes. So for me to use APS-C size lenses for that, it's ample. And to be honest, working very close with this lens works very well in that regard. So I'm really happy with using that lens on my A6500 or using it on the A7R2. I mean, you could even use it on the A7 III and you get around about an 8-9 megapixel. It's still probably going to be enough for what you're going to be doing for macro type work. So that's what I'm using at the moment. As for my macro, that's the only macro lens that I had. I had a Sigma 105 that I sold, but that's all I've got. So I am tempted to have a look at this one anyway, this Sigma 70mm. It's a 2.8 macro. And to give you a perspective of the size, you can see here that the one on the left is the Sigma 70. The one on the right is the 90mm macro. And I'm not sure they're saying what the price is. No, they're not saying the price, I don't think. No, they're not saying the price. They're just saying new item coming soon. And it's not listed down there, Sigma FE lens. Oh, it's probably because it's not up for pre-order yet. So we're going to have to wait and see how the pricing ranges on this. But again, it certainly is a lens that I'm interested in. And knowing Sigma, it's going to be a lovely sharp lens. So that might be another one that I might be able to get a hold of and test as well. I know the 90mm is also excellent. But to be honest, I don't want a lens that's that big and heavy. So I probably would prefer to go for something like the Sigma lens. And that's why I also love that 30mm Sony lens that I've actually got. So anyway, wait and see what happens when that's released, and we'll have a look at that too. And I'm going to come back to the questions, guys, as well. Second last question, I think that's the last one, I think. Yeah, it is. The last one was, I noticed there's a second generation of Wasabi batteries out now. I noticed that one camera guy said he bought some of these and had no issues with them at all. So they are now available. So if you were holding off for that first lot of batteries that came out because there was issues, there now is a second generation of Wasabi batteries that have come out. So if you were worried about that, you're now probably free to start pre-ordering them. And they're, what are they? Does it give a price? They're $44.99. if you're in the US. So that, that's interesting as well. I only tend to use the Sony batteries. Probably won't buy the second-hand ones, but I know in the chat last time, people all said to me that they had no issues with them at all. I'm only going from my experience, and they seem to just die all of a sudden, like a year later. But a lot of you are saying you've had them for ages and not had any problems. But I think just the amount you're saving as running a professional photography business, I think I'll just stick with the Sony batteries personally. But if you do want to save a little bit of money, you can now buy those. And I do also recommend, and I spoke about this on the One Camera Guy when we had that thing with Jason Vong the other day, you should be buying an external battery charger. Guys, do not be using the internal charging of these batteries because, to be totally honest, if you're starting to plug stuff into these ports, you are going to end up having issues. There's a good chance that you could damage the motherboard, the main board on these cameras. I never ever download photos directly by using the cable. I don't ever charge inside the camera. I was lucky because I bought the A9. I had the external charger. But if I didn't, I would buy a third-party charger. Now, I'm not sure how fast they charge, though. I have to say the Sony one is ridiculous how fast it charges. I think they're charging around a little over half an hour. They're super fast. So I've only got the one charger, and even though I've got 6 batteries, it really doesn't take long to charge them all up. But if you can't afford the Sony one, which is obviously a lot more expensive, you can buy one of the third-party ones that you can look at here. Cheers. All right, so let's open it up to questions because I'd love to see what you guys have to say. So fire away any questions, guys. I'm going to go back and we can start to go through them all. So fire away anything to your heart's content. You can ask about the Tamron if you want to know anything about that as well that I used the other day. All right, so let me come down to here. So let me find the first question. Panda Photographer said, yeah, wow, $50. Yeah, that was for that remote controller. It was really cheap. That's this one that I was talking about that I purchased yesterday from B&H. It was on special. It was 50% off. So I'm so happy that I actually bought that. What else have we got? Mike saying he got the Miko battery grip, which also includes a remote with the timeless feature for €120. Yeah, that's another option if you want to go down that avenue. Oh, thanks, Tony. You put the time down. I'll just go through it and add it later. Panda Photographer said, I had the Audio Technica. It's good, but not that good. So he's talking about that actual one. So I'll see how it goes. This is only going to be as a backup replacement in case if something happens. I bought 2 of these just in case if I'm doing a wedding or something and I lose some of those lavaliers or something like that. So, Guys, too, if you can, please, I would really appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up as well. I really would appreciate that, guys. What else? Mike said, yes, the remote works great. Palantir said, I saw that deal look really good, but the battery is so good, I'm not in a hurry to get it. Not sure what that meant. Oreo said, thanks for the congrats on the 10,000 subscribers. Thank you, Oreo. I'm going to put up a separate video about that too. Thank you, Tony, for saying that as well. Jose said, woohoo, Corona. No, I'm drinking a Krombacher. Listen to the rain out there. It's pouring. We very rarely get rain. And it's actually pouring down out there. I love it. Mike said, congrats on the 10,000. You deserve that. Thank you so much, Mike. Palantir said, wow, just noticed the 10,000. Thank you. Now let's help David get to 20, everyone. So that's the next stage, the Panda. So hopefully it won't take too long. You are such a good YouTuber. I know you'll be successful. Just stick with it. Thank you so much, Palantir. That's fantastic. The Panda said, Velo shutter looks like the Pixel TW283 that I have. Yeah, and you like that, don't you, Panda? I noticed that. What, no apps? Damn, I will keep the A7R too. Yeah, I know, that's a problem, Francisco. I hate the way they've taken the apps out of the newest Sony cameras. I really wish they were still there. Programmer said, cheers, I'm having a ballast point. Hi, West, at this point. Is that a beer, is it? Tamron, love you, David. I am DeBrown. I thought that glare was coming from the top of you. Oh, Tony, you're a shocker. I know, I probably could have put a hat on. I was that cold yesterday. That's not very nice. Oh, love it. What else have we got? Richard said, David, I'm not sure now if I should get the Tamron 28-75 or the Sony 55 1.8. Yeah, it's tough, Richard. What other lenses have you got? You might need to let us know a bit further down. But I do adore that 50, but you remember you're stuck at that 55mm. The Tamron 28-75, if you haven't got much money and you can't buy many lenses, that does cover a big focal length. And you can shoot at 2.8, which means it will work pretty well in low light. I still love my 55 though, but I'm lucky that I could get both. It's a tough one though, but if you haven't got very few lenses, the 28-75 may be a better lens for you. Palantir said, this lens isn't next, I'll be adding to my kit. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to do that. Programmer said, Tamron apologises because too many people pre-ordered and they won't have enough. I know, I think they're shocked at the number of people that are buying this, but it doesn't surprise me after using it at all. And the cost of that lens alone, I can understand why people are jumping ship. And if you are coming from someone like Canon or Nikon and you're thinking about switching over, what a great lens to have at your disposal. You know, I mean, it's fantastic. That could cause a lot of people to switch. Definitely. That combo of the A7 III and that lens, you're dealing in the US of less than $3,000 and you have a great wedding kit that you could start with straight away. I mean, fantastic. What else have we got? Carl Ryan in David We Trust. Thanks, Carl. Want to get this before my vacation next month, but it will be tough. And the thing too is, KM, that is a great travel lens. That's 70-200, and that's one reason why I may get it, because it's so light, and that's a lovely focal length to carry around with you. Sometimes I'm happy just carrying around a 35. Well, you've got that focal length in that range. You've got wider, and you've also got a bit longer. To be honest, the 75 sometimes interests me more than the wider end because at least you've got a bit more reach, which could be helpful in travel. The Panda photographer said Tamron will release the new 70-200 for E-mount. Yeah, I'm sure they will. It's just a matter of time now. I think this is just the start. Rito said, looks very interesting for a lens at that price. Sony version F4 going for $899. It's too much. There's no way I would buy that lens, the $899 one, when you've got that Tamron lens. No way would I buy that lens. And that's one great thing, you know, about being a neutral in this whole thing, that I can say these sort of things to you guys, you know, and that's one great thing about being completely neutral. What else have we got? Oreo said, same thing happened with the Batis 85 when it was released. So many people wanted it and Zeiss wasn't prepared. Yeah, it actually took me nearly 12 months to get that Batis. I could not believe how long that took me to get that lens. It drove me nuts. Because the 85 is my favourite focal length, there was no other option at the time unless you wanted to use adapters, which sucked. It took me 12 months to get that Batis and it nearly killed me. What else? Michael said, what's up, everyone? Just saying hello, Michael, when he popped in. Curtis said, have you ever used the Sony 135 Sony Zeiss? No, I haven't used that one. That's the A one, though, isn't it? A mount. Yeah, I haven't used it, though, but it is apparently meant to be a really good lens. Jose said that there is a non-expensive macro for Sony FE, so I'm thinking the Sony 85 FE 1.8 and the Tamron 28-75 are good deals to have. What else? to make it relatively cheap kit. Well, I just showed that other Sony one that works for me, Jose. So you have got that option if you wanted to go down that avenue. Or wait for that Sigma 70mm. Johnny's just saying hi. What else have we got? Jose said, thanks, David Johnson. I'm pre-ordering the A7 III, but I had ordered the 85 1.8 and a few bucks for an old Russian lens for fun. Okay, that's the Helos. Yeah, they're interesting, those lenses. Michael, I'm DeBrown's just saying congratulations for the 10k subs. Thank you so much for that, Tony. Michael said, David O, I pre-ordered the Tamron, but just to compare for about 2 weeks before I sell one or the other. Yeah, I think you'll like it, Michael. I really hope I don't like them both. Well, I can tell you, you're going to love the weight of that thing, Michael. That lens is incredible. It feels so good in your hands. Remember, I love these light lenses, and to have 2.8 at that size and weight is amazing. Oreo 4K 120p, not likely to happen in an APS-C camera due to small size. No, Oreo, I was talking about the A7S III may have 120, not the A7000 or whatever it is. Yeah, sorry, I probably didn't say that clearly enough. I'm betting it will have 4K 60 with a crop in body and no external recorder. Is that the 4K 60p you're talking about there? Just got back from the GM. Jim feels great. Michael, I am DeBrown said, Michael Pierce, you're ready to sell the FS5. I know you were talking about that, selling it, Michael. And thank you so much for the donation, Michael. Really appreciate that. Rui's just joining us. What else have we got? V4D2 said 10k. Thank you so much for supporting us, guys. That really means a lot to me. And I will talk about that in another video shortly. What does the SR stand for? I'm not sure. Where was that one? V4D4 said, if Tamron released a 135 1.8 VC lens, I would buy it even that watching the reviews. It's going to be interesting to see what Tamron release, honestly. I think it's just only going to look up from here, guys. Mike said, David Osa, yes, that's what I was wondering for the last 2 months. Since I got my A7 III, what will Sony put into the A6000, A6700 for the price that he said there to get people to buy it? And that's what I don't know yet. This is going to be the really interesting thing that Sony have to answer. That they've got to try and encourage people to buy a A6-7000 or whatever it is, as against going for the A7 III. Now, if they don't offer things like the articulating screen or 4K 60p, I would be recommending, honestly, that people get the A7 III for the full frame factor alone. So Sony have to give us something to make us want to buy that, and they have to make it different enough from the A7 III that people will buy that camera. And that's why I'm thinking that an articulating screen is probably going to be the thing that they add in that camera, and it will sell like hotcakes. I think it's beer o'clock again. Cheers. Michael said he's off. He's going to pop back in later. No worries. Michael, have a great day. Rui said, you have said already, but when is the next happy photographer going to be again? Ooh, I don't know, actually, at the moment. After what happened this morning, you need to check out Jason Lanier's video that he just put out talking about that sort of thing. I might leave the happy photographer out for a little bit at the moment and see what happens a little bit later on. Thank you so much for that donation. Who was it? Oh, it's Iron DeBrown. Thank you so much, mate. He's just said, the coolest guy that looks like me, even if I've never seen the sun and I had glasses. Oh, I love it. So the happy photographer may have to wait just a little bit longer. Check out Jason Lanier's latest video and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Mike said, and I don't really see what future would make me want to upgrade my A6500 to the A6700. Well, it has to be a decent upgrade, Mike, and I think they're probably going to have to do it. So anyway, I'm excited about what the potential is. I'm really just am hoping that they add the things. Like I said, for me, the thing that I would love to get on a A6000 or 7000, whatever they're going to call it, is an articulating screen and 4K 60p. Even if it's only 2 minutes, I would be happy because I only shoot for 10 to 15 seconds at 4K 60p. So if they can give me that, I would buy that in a heartbeat. So I'm hoping that's what they give us, and let's keep our fingers crossed that that's what they'll do. Palatia said he is hoping for a Tamron 70-200 2.8. It's going to happen. I don't know how much it'll be priced, but it's going to happen. Michael saying congrats for the 10K. Thank you so much, Michael. Oreo said, I bought the 30mm micro almost as a joke, but when I saw the pictures, I was never going to sell it. I know, how good is it? It's incredible for the price of that lens. $260 odd US, and that lens, honestly, gets me all of my ring shots, my detail shots, things like that, and it's tiny. I love it. It's such a good macro lens and so cheap. Greg said, finally got you live. Hello from Canada. Hi, Greg. How are you? Nice to see you. Or Craig, I should say. I want that Batis zoom. I love it. I love the Batis 85. Jose said, and the YouTuber photography news, anyone see Jason Zlania on being bullied? Yeah, I just talked about that. He says he will sue. David Hope, he's not trolling you too. No, he's not. Craig said, still waiting for my pre-order of the A7 III. I know it's taking so long, but hopefully, Craig, it won't be too long. Ben's in. G'day, Ben. How are you, mate? Sony drinking game night, Casper said. Mike said, fast charging is not really good for pro battery life. Yeah, I've heard that too, Mike, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Sony batteries last. Oreo said, I bought an external battery charger for the A7 Mark III. It costed €14, including shipping, and worked perfectly. Thanks, Oreo, for letting us know. Jose said, I'd like a series on starting wedding photography, pricing, etc. I've done that, Jose. If you check in my YouTube, I actually have started a series talking about setting up a wedding and photography business. I just have stopped doing it for a while. I am going to get back to doing that. I've set up a whole playlist that goes through a lot of those things, and there'll be more added to it in the future. Craig said, what do you recommend for my Sony A7 III as my first lens? Main focus will be street work. Well, I honestly think you can't go past that Tamron lens, Craig. If you're thinking about just getting a first lens, it would be a great lens to get, or a good 35 is also a great street lens as well. You can also get something like the Sigma 35 or the Samyang 35, I think it was. And also the Sony 35 f2.8 is also a great lens as well for street photography. Bayo said, would consider ever getting the Sigma 105 over the 135 FE. Well, I'm thinking about that, Jose, and I don't know. I'm going to test them both, hopefully, Bayo, I mean, and just see how they actually look. Jose said, I see a bald head on the screen with glasses. I thumbs up and I click play. That's funny. Thanks, mate. Oreo said, chats with David Osa almost feel like family now. Thanks, Oreo. And that's what I want this to be all about, like chat amongst friends. Shane said, the banding issue with the A7 III and the Sony 85 1.8 bad enough to get the 55mm instead. Well, it's hard to say, Shane, because I haven't seen that banding personally, but I haven't got the Sony 85 1.8. But I haven't seen it where it's anything of a worry to me personally. And remember, the hard part about all this is that a lot of the people that you see that are complaining about this is only a tiny proportion of the number of people using that camera in the wild. So things can really be beaten up out of proportion. And I have had a couple of people contact me actually and show me them. So I know that that issue exists with the banding. I haven't personally seen it though, but I have had people send me them and I can see it. So yes, it is an issue, and it might be something that you want to test. Perhaps hire the lens first and see how it works for you. Richard said he's got the 85 1.8. I have the 85 and the 50mm, thinking of a 35 1.4 of the Tamron 28-75. Yep, you can't go wrong with either of those two. Like I said, for me personally, shooting the 35 1.4 is still my favourite lens, but I would love that 28-75 as well, I must admit it. Andrew said, I've missed this earlier, how is the performance in low light? Does the AF-Sys work in the Tamron lens? I haven't tested the low light yet, but at 2.8 it should work okay, I think. But that's still got to be tested in upcoming reviews, and that's something I will test for you in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Matt said, curious, does Kiara work for you full time? She is at the moment, Matt. But, you know, we just have to see what happens. I've really been enjoying working with Kiara because it's been... The problem is most of my shoots are paid shoots. And this is the issue for me, that I can't really do testing and things like that if I'm charging someone to do those paid shoots. So I've been loving having Kiara working with me where I can ask her basically to do whatever I like pose, do certain things with cameras. Like yesterday, I could do the testing of the Tamron, you know, and she can be there with me and do it, and then I haven't had to try and organise models or whatever. So at the moment, yes, it's just been working great, and I really do love working with her. Her personality is amazing, and she is so much fun to work with, and I adore it. I also really love working with her mother as well, who is just a wonderful photographer as well. What else? Where were we? Okay, someone else is saying in here, Little Blue Eye said, Tamron has a 70 to 210mm f4 in Canon and Nikon. I'm hoping they will offer an E-mount. They will. It's only a matter of time, Little Blue Eye. Little Ray Blue, I mean. Jerry said, switched from Nikon and got the A7 III, bought the Sony 85 1.8, trying to settle on either the Tamron 28-75 or would the Sony 24-105 perform better for landscapes. We'll get the 35 later. If you were dealing with just landscapes, to be honest, Jerry, I'd probably get the 24-105 because it's just got the 24 that you've got and also more of a reach. If you were dealing with general photography, I probably would get the Tamron. That's the best answer that I can give you that. Bayo said, thanks, congratulations on the 10,000 stubs. Thanks so much. Remy said, there is a Zeiss Batis 135 2.8 E-mount. You should check it out. Haven't seen that yet. Old School said, you think Sony will ever upgrade their older cameras? I'm struggling getting skin tones not to strange with my A7R II. Well, that's interesting. I don't know why you're having trouble with skin tones. I'm more than happy with the skin tones out of my A7R II. More than happy with them. It might just take a fraction of correction in Lightroom, but it takes 2 seconds. It's not something that I really am worried about. They may give us an upgrade in the firmware that they've got now for the... I'm hoping that whatever this firmware is that they get for the A7S III, this new colour science that they're talking about, into the A7S III, we may get that in the A7 III and the A9, and it might come down. I'm hoping that's what happens, that they give us a firmware update. Just look at what Fuji did the other day with their firmware upgrade for the X-T2. They've added these these log profiles and all these other things. Please, Sony, look after your supporters, the people that have bought your cameras. I'm DeBrand gave me a donation. Thank you so much. M. Spates said, David, what do you think the megapixel count will be on the A7S III? Well, I'm not sure, but I hope they don't go too high, because they obviously if they don't go too high, the more resolution ISO you'll get out of it, but they might end up giving us a 24 megapixel and do something with that sensor as well. So I'm not sure, but I would think it's going to be less than 24 and possibly 18, sort of down from that area. Jose said, we have people of colour love this channel. Well, I hope so. I love everyone. Doesn't matter what colour your skin is. Kevin said, I may use primes until next year when the 2470 ARC comes out in 2019. Mike said, Jason will finally crush that moron. Oh, God. I'm sorry, I read that now, but it is funny. Creative Film said, sorry, I'm getting a cough. The A7R3, A7 III colour science is great. Can't stand my A6500 anymore due to skin tones. 24 Sigma art, it will be the size of a Nazi super cannon. What else have we got? Iron to Brown, just talking there. No, just comments back. Stacey said, I ordered the Tamron about a week after it was announced, and I hope that it is not sold out. I heard that it is in great demand. Yeah, it is, Stacey. I can only tell you from what I heard yesterday, everyone's going to have trouble getting that lens. It's back ordered like going nuts. What else? Stacey said, I just got here, hello, I only Sony 85 1.8 and never seen any banding either. And that's the thing, like I said, a lot of people haven't, and it's just unlucky. Dave Clark said, we are swimming over here. Southern Tas underwater. I know, Dave, I saw that this morning. You had 80 mil of rain. Guys, I don't think you understand that we very rarely get rain here in Australia. Honestly, it's a very dry country. It's a very dry continent, one of the driest continents on Earth, actually. So unless you go to rainforests and stuff, like when you've seen me shoot in the forest and stuff like that, we very rarely actually get rain. And it's raining outside now, and I love it. Like, I love going to bed and listening to rain on the roof because we very rarely ever get it. So, like today, even though it's cold, it's so cool and great to have rain outside. And I suppose LA is the same. You don't get much rain either. But yeah, I'm really enjoying getting the rain. But David's from Tasmania, which is down south from me, and they've been getting bucket loads apparently. Marcus said, hi David, I'll buy the A7 III in August for travel photos only. Do you think it's good to have the A7 III screen protector? Yes, definitely. On all of my cameras, I put on the glass screen protector. You can see it's just separated a fraction in that corner. Doesn't bother me though. But I always put glass screen protector straight on. That's the A7 III. If you look at the A9, I've also got one on as well. Far better, because all Sony cameras have been known to have an issue with that screen lamination pulling off if you don't have screen protection on it. I've never ever had that problem happen because I always put screen protection on all of my cameras. So that's the first thing I do. Before I even use the camera, I put that glass, make sure it's glass though, I put the glass screen protectors on. Where are we? Now, he's also said, Marcus also said, the Gorilla Pod, yes, that's always nice to have. I've got a few of them, but I never use them, but they are handy. The Tamron 28-75, perfect. Godox as your flash kit, that's great. You might just need a fast prime, Marcus. You're going to need something that is probably a bit wider than that Tamron 28. So it may be that you get a good wide-angle prime. Peter said, you're still on? Yeah, you know what I'm like, Peter, when I get on with you guys. We never get off. Aria said, I have problems with the colours of the A7R3, but it's not the camera, it's the Lightroom profiles. Yeah, and I read your whole article on my Facebook page, Aria, about that, and it was really interesting. Creative Film said, truly can't wait for the A7S III. I know, I'm sort of hanging out for it too. Eden said, hi, David. Excuse me. Hi, David. Have you heard anything about the 35 1.4 GM? No, I haven't. I'm not sure whether we need that lens, though. Do you reckon we do? I am so happy, honestly, with the 35 1.4 that I've got. It's still my favourite lens. I don't think I'd buy a GM version of it. I really don't, but we'll see. I mean, I prefer them to do a 135 rather than a 35 GM. If not, the other big manual lens, which I'm fine with, what do you think of the Voigtlander 40 1.2? I haven't used it, but I'd love to try it, Eden. I love the Voigtlander lenses. I love the feel of them. The focusing is amazing, and I love that retro whole thing about them. Peter said, I think we'll see the A6 700 or the A7 soon. Yeah, I agree. With 26 megapixel stack sensor that the XT3 due in September is rumoured to use. Interesting. Joseph said, I pre-ordered the Tamron 2875 based on my previous experience in their with their 24-70 2.8, which I've used to shoot boxing on my Nikon for the past 3 years. Loving my new A7 III. I don't think you can go wrong with that Tamron 2870. Mario said, what about super AMOLED screens for cameras? Well, it's going to happen sooner or later. The other thing that I'm really hoping that happens is they give us a really decent touch screen. That could be another thing that they could add on an A6 7000 or an A7000, whatever it is. That could be another great thing that they might add on there. All right, guys. Well, that's just about the end of the show for today. Please, if you can, I'd love if you could give me a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for the 10,000 subscribers, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I want to just put that in as a separate video, though it won't be a live. It's just going to be a video that I'm just going to put up thanking you all. So that's going to come up. Spake said, it's okay, David, stay on air as long as you want. So that's what I want to just talk about, that aspect about what it means to me to reach 10,000. So I'm going to put that on as a separate thing. I did shoot a video with Kiara yesterday. Inside an amazing abandoned place that I'll be posting soon. I've still got other ones where she's shot inside that old building that I want to post for you all, and also still some studio shoots that I still want to post for you too, because it might help you if you're going to work in studio and see how I did that lighting setup where she's lying down on the floor and standing up and things. So there's heaps of content to come. There's also the smoke shoot that I've still got to post as well. So actually, I do have a lot of shoots that I'm going to be posting in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. I'll obviously be reviewing the Tamron 28-70 in around about 3 weeks. I think it's released on the 24th, so I can get access to that lens then. So I'm going to be organising with Tamron to get that lens and do a shoot so I can post that for you straight away so you can see some of the results and images. Oh, thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate that. That's 2 of those you've given me. Thank you so much. So there'll all be things that are coming up in the coming weeks. So please, if you haven't hit the notification, hit that, because a lot of people on YouTube are saying they're not getting notifications, and that's because you don't hit the notification bar. So if you haven't hit that, you may not see these videos that are coming up. And like I've said to you before too, I'm a little bit different in how I talk to you guys, that I want this to be more like friends talking to one another. If you don't like these really long chats, clearly the live shows aren't for you, and then obviously don't watch it. This is for you guys that like watching these longer shows and interacting with me and just chatting like friends and family. So anyway, that's about all for now, guys. So thank you so much for all the people saying thank you for the 10,000 subscribers, and that really means a lot. Like I said, I'll post another video about that shortly. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.